Hey guys, well this week was kind of a debacle around here. I did not get the parts in I needed to shoot the video I had planned on, so I decided this week to do something a little different. Now there's projects that I started 6 months ago and it was sitting by the wayside, so I decided screw it, I'm going to do it. So what I decided to do this week is build a Radio Flyer Wagon. Now you guys might be like, why on earth are we watching a video on building a wagon? Hey, I go to a lot of car shows, I go to a lot of swap meets, and believe me, once you start buying stuff, you don't want to carry it around all day. So a wagon's a great way to carry stuff around with you, and why not make it cool? So anyway, I don't have the video on the disassembly, but I'm sure you guys can figure out how to take a wagon apart. So when I start this video out, we're going to actually start with the actual pan, and we're going to go from there. So alright guys, well I hope you enjoy it, something different. Anyway, first thing I got to do is build a frame to go under this. So I'm going to make that out of 1x1 tubing, and we'll go from there. Alright, let's do it. Clean the metal first before you start. Okay, I've got 2 at 29, 1 at 16, and 1 at 10. Okay, now on the front, when these guys meet, now we're not doing the extension out for the front wheels, we're just doing the main body right now. Now what I'm going to do is go back and I'm going to 45 these pieces to put them together. Because, I mean, you can take and just butt weld them together, but you're going to have that open square. And it just looks like you just threw it together. Okay, you really, if you want to take pride in your stuff, you can do the 45s. Weld them shut, and there's no open holes. It just looks like a better fabrication job all the way around. Now, when we put the front pieces together, it'll be like so, and there's no open hole. So it'll look good from the sides if you do see it. Alright, I've laid out my frame, I've got the magnetic squares in here, so I'm going to go ahead and start tacking this up in place and squaring it up. Now that I've got one side tacked, I'm going to flip it over, tack the other side before I do any welding. That way there's no way this thing's going to move. Alright, well, while we're letting that frame cool, we might as well work on the uprights for the wheels. So if we use the stock wheel, which I'm going to, I bought some pneumatics, but I didn't like the way they looked, like dolly wheels. I don't know, they were just too big. So I'm going to use these, and let's see here. Center the wheel down to about 4 inches. Then we want an inch off the ground, so we'll make a we'll go 3.5 inch vertical piece that comes up, and then we'll be able to weld on the bolt that we're going to put the wheel on. Okay, what I've done is tack the bolt on all 4 sides before I weld it out. That way it's not going to bend one way or the other. We want to keep this thing square. Okay, so the top of these uprights to hold the bolt for the axles is going to be seen. So we don't want a big open piece of tubing there. So these little 45 pieces that we cut off a little while ago, they're exactly 1 inch by 1 inch. So if we cut the little triangles off the side, we've got a perfect little plate to weld on there to cover it up and make it look good. Now guys, I don't know if you can see this, okay, but when I weld something that thin, like that, I use a start-stop method. I'll slow the video down so you can actually see what I'm doing, and it comes out really nice. I'm still going to grind it, but it's just a start-stop weld. Now, instead of seeing a big open gap, when you look down on it, you see a nice cap. When you put these on, you don't want to just match up the 45s and leave it. you're going to want to measure the end of the bolt, see where it comes out at. I've got 3 3/8, 3 3/8. Okay, you want to make sure the tips of the bolts are even and the inside is square, that way your wagon won't lean to one side. Alright, so now that the main part is all welded up, now we haven't welded on the extension for the front, but the main part's all welded up. We're going to go ahead and grind it all, make it look good before we move on. Alright, so now the next thing we're going to do is build the front axle. Okay, so I've got a cut piece of 14 inches to match the tire width on the back. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to 45 the ends and make the uprights for the axles again, just like we did in the rear, but in the front. Now, I'm center punching these at drilling because I'm making this out of scrap and I don't have short bolts. So if you have short bolts, you could go ahead and just weld it to the side like we did before. These are way too long and there's not enough thread to cut them down. So I'm going to drill it through, slide the bolt through and weld it out. So, not that big of a difference, just that's how I got to do it because I'm just building this with what I got laying around.
Seems like only yesterday I held you in my hands, and now I'm looking.
Alright, well, it's the next morning. I thought about it and I figured out how I want to do the front of the wagon. So I've got one piece cut at 11 inches with a 45, another one cut at 7 with a 45. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld them like this. And then we'll box it in and it'll assimilate like a Z frame. Okay, just like that. And then we'll weld it onto there. The reason we're doing this is so the other axle can sit on the front and pivot and not hit.
And now I'm looking on your grave and sit on heavy fence. I've got no sun that shines on me.
Alright, so I 45 the front pieces again because they're going to be shown. I'm going to go ahead and weld those out. And then we'll flip this over and weld it to the rest.
Shines on me. I've got no place to go. My love, my little bit.
Somewhere on my measurements I came off about 1/8 inch. I'm not sure where it happened, but anyway, I got a gap to fill. So now, you know, you can always cut it, take it apart, cut it again, put it back together. Well, that's not the way I do crap. So I'll turn the welder down a little bit, fill the gap, and move on.
My little victory. I miss.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and grind it smooth. Now, one good thing to do when you're working like this and you're grinding it and you want to make sure it looks seamless is keep your welder running, keep it nearby. And if you have a low spot, just zap it real quick, add a little material in there and keep grinding. That way you can continue working.
I miss you so.
Alright, now that everything's ground smooth, we need to find the center of the front, the dead center, equal spot, mark it, because then we're going to actually drill the hole for the pivot pin. Now I'm going to drill a pilot hole, which is a much smaller hole, but that way I can keep it square before I open it up. Now I'm going to use a step bit, like these, unit bit, step bit, whatever you want to call it, to open this hole up. Alright, this is the front axle, so I'm going to measure center here and drill the same hole I did on the frame. Okay, now on the bottom of the axle, I'm going to have to open up the hole a little more because I'm going to use a carriage bolt. Carriage bolts, if you don't know, have a button head on them, the hex here. They're made so that just the head of the bolt is smooth. Okay, I'm doing this because this thing's 1 inch off the ground and I don't want that extra bolt hanging down there. So we're going to put this in and then we'll tack it so it doesn't move. For this, I'm going to use a different unit bit or step bit. This one here, of course, cuts a much fatter hole and a shorter distance. So what I've done is I've put the carriage bolt in and I cut the hole where it's just tight, tapped in the rest of the way so it really bites. I'm gonna put a quick tack here and here so this thing doesn't spin. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna do on the front axle is figure out how to attach the handle. Okay, I've decided to use the original handle just because it's got great patina on it. It looks cool. I'm just gonna do it. Now, this thing's got this giant ball on the end of it, but I feel like it's a cool feature, the way it moves, everything else. So I'm gonna take the original front piece that it connected to. It's steel, so we're gonna cut it off, weld it to the front axle. Now, for those of you just starting out, you can't just look at a piece of metal and know the gauge. They make these gauge finders. Okay, and you slip it on and it tells you what it is. Okay, so just like that, it's 14 gauge. Alright, so if you're not good at guessing it or seeing it, you know, just knowing what it is by sight, get one of these. It'll help you out, know what to set your welder to so you just don't blow it away. Now, for assembly, we are going to do it like this. Washer, washer, I don't know if I turn this the right way, through, one more washer, and then nut. We can turn this yay far. So that's better than other ones I've seen. Now, let's get the arm on this. Alright. We'll lop off the end of this bolt. So guys, I dug around trying to find the right size bolt. And the only thing I came up with rather quickly was the bolts you use for putting the toilet in. They're brass, but it's cool. Use what you got. Alright, let's put the wheels on this thing so we can get it down on the ground, take a look at it, put the pan on it, and see what we think.
I see that Truman Road Hotel. I see.
Alright guys, well at this point the wagon's functional, frame's done, everything's done. So this is the point where you take off and make it your own. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do to mine, but at this point, just do whatever comes to you. Now, the first thing that bugs me about the wagon is I'm 6'2". Okay, my arms are long, but they ain't that long. So when I walk holding them, any wagon, I got to lean over to hold it, and I got a bad back, so that's not a great idea. So first thing I'm going to do is take this arm off, extend it, make it so it's comfortable for me to walk with, because, you know, some of these swap meets are huge and I'm walking forever. So, go do that first. Alright, so I dug around in buckets of random crap. I bought these random things at swap meets, and I bought this wrench here. Now it's got a marlin spike on one end, and this is the type of wrenches I use working steel. So, it means something to me. I like it. So I'm going to cut this, weld it in line, and extend the handle, and I'll give it a little touch.
You dressed in black. My words that I forgot to spell. My knife, there's in your neck. I've got no sun that shines on me. I've got no place to go. My love, my little victory. I miss you so.
The next thing I'm going to add are these spikes. Now I bought these, I don't know, 2 years ago. They're, I think they're going a track hoe to dig on the tracks. But I thought they were awesome. I just put them aside, didn't know what I was going to use them for. Now I'm going to put them in the back of the wagon, spikes out. So I've cut them down so they'll lay flat, and now we're going to tack weld them under the wagon. So. Next thing I'm going to do is a chain shifter. Okay, so when you weld chain, it's a little different. Okay, One, this stuff is zinc coated, so you don't want to breathe it in. So I'm just gonna hold my breath and open the door, put on the fan. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I put one end of the chain in a vise. I'll pull it tight and I'll stitch it to keep it straight. Then once I'm done, then I'll put it in there and I'll keep making a turn, and I hold it tight so that I can weld the chain.
Time has passed and I forgot whom did you belong? I sit on fans smoking cigarettes and cry and sing my.
Alright, so I've cut some pallet wood to make the decking in here. I'm going to drill holes from the bottom and run little short wood screws in there to actually hold the wood down.
I've got no sun that shines on me. I've got no place to go.
The next thing I thought would look cool on this would be side pipes, you know, like zoomies coming out the side. So I've got this little piece of tubing here, and I'm going to go ahead and bend it, lop it, bend it, lop it. Problem is because if you make these little short pieces and then try to bend them, it's really hard. So if I do it this way, it should go a lot smoother.
My love, my little victory. I miss it so.
Now a little trick, when you cut pipe with a cutoff wheel, it tends to get real nasty and goobered on the inside. You take a rimming tool for like brake lines or something like that and just spin it in it. Cleans it right up. So I have a bunch of these old wrenches that I picked up, swap meets and stuff like that. I'm going to tack them on here too for some. Alright, one last thing this thing needs. Cup holder. Alright, this thing turned out pretty badass. We got the spot for our cooler, we got a cup holder, we got the old wood decking. Time for the finishing touch. Shift knob for the shifter. There we go. She's done.
Honey from a bone, can't get no loving while your brain is gone.
Alright guys, well I let a afternoon project turn into a day and a half. Yeah, good times. Anyway, so, I mean, I like the wagon. Hey, I'll drag it around to every show. More people will probably see it than the truck, so whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. I like it. It's cool. I just put it in my game room, so yeah. But anyway, you guys, I showed you the basics, how to make the chassis, and then you can do whatever you want to it from there. I'd actually love to see what you guys come up with, and send them to my Facebook or tag me on Instagram, to me at brokebastardgarage@gmail.com. I mean, I'd love to see what you guys come up with. So anyway, let's talk about the few tools I used today that I haven't talked about before. One thing is It's speed square, okay? A lot of guys don't call it a speed square, but I call it a speed square. This guy here, I've got like 4 or 5 of them because I can't ever find my tools. But they're not just for wood. I use them for metal work, and they're great. They cost, I don't know, $8-9 for a decent one. I'll find one for you guys, and I'll put a link below. All right, I'll put a link in the description, so you, I'll find one, a decent one, and I'll put the links in there. I'm gonna start doing that with all the tools. Anytime I talk about a tool, I'm gonna find an equivalent or whatever, and I'll put a link in the description so you guys can find it. Okay. This guy. These are little bolt cutters. Now you saw when I was doing the spider web. All right, I'm using a little 1/4-inch rod, and sitting there with the cutoff wheel over and over and over. It's just irritating because then you gotta hold it. But this, I can take one hand, throw it on the bench, and snap. I go through it in a hurry with these. These are good little guys. I have no idea what they cost, but I'll find up here and put it in the description. The other thing I thought about today was extension cords. All right, this one's actually kind of straight, but you know, last thing you want to do is fight extension cords. All right, now I'll show you the one up here I have on the ceiling. It's from Harbor Freight. It's on a reel, but those things can get expensive. I'll see what I can find one for and list it, but that thing was like $80 and it pisses me off constantly. You pull it down, then it doesn't want to roll all the way back up, so they're freaking horrible. So now I'm going to show you this other one I bought on Amazon last year. They're like $24 and they're freaking amazing. If you got the wall space for it, they're great. Let's see if I can turn the camera and get a shot of it. Found it over here by the garage door. So you can just grab the extension cord out as much as you want. Okay? And when you want to reel it up, you press the lever, bring it in. And it winds it all up in the basket. Nice and easy. If you want to take it off, you can turn this and take it off. So these are about $24. As long as you're not, it is plastic. Don't get me wrong. It is plastic. But if you're nice to it, it will last you. And buddy, it saves a lot of headache when you just grab a cord and walk to where you need it. When you're done, you reel it up real quick and that's it. No wrapping around your elbow, and then first time you take it apart, it goes everywhere. And then, you know, a lot of you guys like to do the construction freaking twit. Yeah, too much time. Press the lever, crank it, it's gone. Or this kind, you pull it and it retracts back. In a shop, you don't want to be dealing with that every time you need a cord. So these guys are great options for you. One other tool I didn't talk about, but I need to, is the gauge finder. So this one came with my welder, but I'm gonna find one of these online and list it for you guys. You know, if you need it, it's helpful. So, all right. I know that's not many tools, but I mean, that's all I can think of for tonight. So do me a favor, you like this video, like and subscribe. And you know what? We gotta do the giveaway first. Alright guys, I know this video ran a little longer than expected, but I kind of wanted to get all the aspects in there. So let's do the drawing, and let's see, we had 44 entries this month, and the winner is number 2. And number 2 is Big Brandon 429. Alright, so Big Brandon 429. Send me an email to brokebastardgarage@gmail.com. I have a hat for you, a couple lanyards, and a DEI shirt. Now I've got 2XL and 3XL. Sorry, that's the only sizes they sent me. So send me your address and what size shirt you want, and I will package it all up and get it out to you. Well guys, I appreciate you watching, and you know the drill. Alright, like and subscribe, and there's another link to my videos there. Now I'm going to sit down now and get those links up for those tools for you guys, so hopefully they'll help you out. Alright guys, I'll see you next week.